Hey, welcome to Maych TV. So, I've got a little theory about Alexander Isak. Liverpool are being linked with him, and I love the idea, but only under certain circumstances. I do a podcast called the Bias Football Podcast every single week on Red Men Plus. So I decided to gather the panel and float that theory with them. If you enjoy this and you want to check out the full show, and in fact a month's worth of shows for absolutely nothing, I've got a free month code for you. Head to redmenplus.com, choose a monthly subscription and use the code MAYCH, M-A-Y-C-H. Simple as that. Go all the way up to the cup final and beyond. Fill your boots. Anyway. Well, I've got you guys here. I want to talk about Alex Isak, and just from a Liverpool perspective. And Chris, I'll start with you on this if you don't mind, because I know something we had a brief chat about the other day. I've got a theory when it comes to Liverpool's interest in Alexander Isak, and I know there is a prevailing logic that kind of says if Salah's going to leave at the end of the season, then they need to go big in the market and go on and get an Isak. Could be it, because then you can change how you play. I am worried about his injury record, not his quality. I think he's the best out there at the moment, up there with there or thereabouts anyway, maybe with Haaland. My theory is this, that I think Liverpool shouldn't move heaven and earth to sign Alex Isak this summer, but I would be loads more happy with it if it is in addition to a Mo Salah contract extension, because I worry about a Fernando Torres style situation where, and as Newcastle are seeing right now, if you build your team around one guy and he's got that fitness record, what's left when he can't take to the field? Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in Isak for at least a couple of years now, and the injury thing has always been the thing that holds you back, doesn't it, when you think about it yourself. He's just so damn good. I think, and I've said this quite a few times over the last few months, Mo Salah is such a fucking unicorn. You just can't replace like for like. So I feel like the easiest way to replace his goals is with a centre forward and change things around. They're so few and far between for start goal scoring right wingers who use the left foot. I mean, there's just not many. Yamal is probably the successor to Salah's crown
status in world football,
and he's fucking 2 generations below, or maybe a generation below, you know what I mean? There's just no one else like Salah in his goals and stuff like that. He
absolutely texts with his thumb, whereas Salah texts with his index finger.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised you even had to explain it. Yeah. Put it this way, Salah's on Facebook and Yamal's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Absolutely. No interest in that shit whatsoever. So I think, for me, it's a centre forward. The big concern for me actually is who do you back him up with if you do decide that Isak's your man. Because for all the will in the world, I'd rather it be Jota, but you can't go into a season with Jota and Isak. It's got to be the lad who's available right now, that's Nunes, because you need to make sure that you've got someone to play when your injury-prone player isn't.
Is that a bit, and different levels of quality, but a bit like what we've got, or what they're doing with Isak and Callum Wilson almost at the moment?
Yeah, they're 2 injured players.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. That's insane, isn't it? I don't know. I think the medical's huge. If he'd have had a completely injury-free season, it makes this decision a lot easier for Liverpool, doesn't it? But the fact is, right now, when it's come to the business end of it, and he's had an injury earlier on in the season, you are looking at it going, if it's 150 million and he's maybe missing 15 games a year, you're asking a lot, aren't you, in some ways?
Massive.
Yeah, I mean, go on, Dan, anything to add?
Yeah. All the concerns are valid ones. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful footballer, and he'd be top of my list in terms of the number 9 options that are out there. Largely due to his quality and what he's been able to do, and he's Premier League proven as well, which of course further aids the argument. For a minute, a few weeks ago, I thought he was going somewhat injury-free, and now this happens, and you go, actually, again, the outlay is so significant. It's almost unheard of in Liverpool parlance, really. His track record injury-wise is so poor now. Like, going back to his Dortmund days, he always picked up things. He's missed, handfuls of games pretty much every single season. I think there's one season in his track record where he's actually been sort of blot-free, if you like, on his copybook. The goals speak for themselves. The quality in and around the box and what he can do as a centre-forward speaks for itself. But I do think we need a centre forward, ultimately. I agree with your point, and it can't be Jota. I think we need someone to supplement him. But it'd probably be a signing, because I think Jota can do it.
Exactly. So you might be committing 200 million to sign an Isak.
But you'll supplement that
because
with
150 is him and 50 is his backup.
Yeah, you'll offset that with some pretty significant departures, I think, this summer, to be really honest with you. Jaden Dan's probably been around that conversation, but he's had his own fitness issues, hasn't been able to get up to speed at any point this season. For me, the issue is when it's not Isak, you suddenly go into João Pedro, good footballer, nothing like in terms of numbers. Matheus Cunha, we've seen at the weekend, he's got disciplinary issues, slightly different to injury ones. Hugo Ekitike's been in the conversation as well, whose numbers stack up, but in the French leagues, I don't quite know how that translates. Jonathan David falls in the conversation as well.
Jonathan David
will be a free, yeah, so maybe he can be a backup guy because his fitness record is much better.
But the problem is, clubs keep doing this, and it's impossible, because what happens if, and let's do the flip of it, Liverpool have just shown this season they've actually got an almost uncanny ability to get players on the pitch.
Yes,
ones
true.
that we were terrified, that we were never going to see enough of this year. You buy two strikers, one to cover Isak, and an Isak plays every game of football. And this is what Villa have just come out the other side of. We've seen it with Arsenal going back in the day, had Aubameyang and Lacazette.
Yes, true.
Very hard to manage two guys, and that's what you've got to have a distinct tier to it, which is how, and also Liverpool were great in spreading the money around in the Benitez days, but Torres' understudy was David and go. So you don't want to end up with too much disparity, and it's a hard sell to that other lad. We're buying you. You're going to play for Liverpool. Where are you going to play? Alex Isak's understudy.
Well, Spurs had that with Kane, didn't they, forever, it felt like, you know what I mean? But he's class.
We've had it with Salah ourselves.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Come and play back up to this guy who never gets injured and is absolutely world class, you know what I mean? All the best.
You've got to treat it like buying a house, though. I think when you're going in with Isak, you're paying for the big fucking survey, and then you're going back and asking for money off.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm sure Newcastle are going to be happy to be chipped down on the most wanted centre forward prospect on planet Earth right now. Yeah,
He hasn't got an in.
You
go and walk around kicking his ankles like you're checking the tyres on a used car. Oh, he winced. 5 million.
I'm not sure about that.
You would want him to be more durable by this point, though. You know what I mean? Because at one point you could almost give it a pass and be like, he's still very young. He's still probably growing, etc., etc. He's getting used to the rigours and the intensity of the Premier League. We're now 3 years removed from that being valid. Yeah, you'd want him to be fit.
What Paul was saying is interesting, because I think if you take that on a little bit more about the sports science side of things, you might be looking at it as a sports scientist and in the room for the medicals and stuff, thinking, I know what it is to fix
that. It's true. That is true. Because on the flip side of that,
human factor, where he's looking at it thinking, I can't win the Champions League with these guys. We just got battered by that team, just got beaten by that team, and I don't fancy it next week.
Did you see that tweet that went viral? I just put it in the agenda for you. I think it's fake, but it's fun. Fun to read.
From the ESPN guy, but it isn't.
It's not an ESPN guy. The guy's got fucking as many followers as. Well, he's not got many followers. My pinky.
This one from FootHub Official.
Quote,
Alexander Isak on his future. I'm very grateful for my time at Newcastle. It's been an incredible journey. Proved I can be an asset to any top team in Europe, and my main goal is to win the Champions League, if not here, at a club in England with a special history. That smells almost too
Could you describe Arsenal's as a special history?
I've always liked red. You know my favourite band? Always liked Jerry and the Pacemakers. You know, my favourite thing to do on the weekends is travel across a body of water on a small boat.
Can we check his follower numbers for Rob? It's not a lot.
No,
Rob ESPN reported.
He's changed his Twitter handle from Rob ESPN to Rob CMPR, and he's got 35 followers on this and 336 on the other one. So yeah. Cool, man. I wouldn't put too much stock in that. And look, who's to say if Liverpool really are in the market for Isak? You know, I can't honestly see that he's going to stay at Newcastle long, because not that there's anything wrong with being bought into the Newcastle project, but it's just that Liverpool and Arsenal, and eventually, you know, if not, God knows, you know, your Real Madrids, etc., will be asking the question. And when you get repeatedly asked that question, it makes you think about it. And you're dead right. There's a potential chance that in a week or so's time, or 2 weeks' time, when we're playing them in the League Cup, if Liverpool win that, he could be stood on a pitch watching Liverpool lift a trophy like it's not the biggest thing that's ever happened in their lives. Like it's very much business as usual, and thinking, God, these guys do this so often that...
Yeah, I'd go one stage further. If I was Slot and I know I'm going after Isak this summer, I'd do the Curtis Jones fucking Szoboszlai double tens thing and not even play a centre forward. And so he sat there going, oh goodness me, they're winning fucking things without a centre forward. Imagine if they had me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely. Or put Darwin Núñez on from the start and have him go, God, I finished that. Oh my God, I need Darwin. I'd scored about 10 in this game if I was in that team. Yeah, maybe try that one. I don't know. But I love him. I think he's tremendous, and I think
he's the answer.
You know, we talked about it earlier.
It's not my money, so buy him.
No, 100%. You know, Erling Haaland was best in class available this summer. We bought Darwin Núñez. Oh, and I know he gets a lot of criticism, but we've had some good times with Darwin. It very much looks like his time is going to be up. So it's whether we go and get another something. You know, Diaz might be on his way. You might want to go and get another Diaz. You know, and then you've got, you know, and who knows? Maybe Kaiser could have. Maybe Jaden Dan steps up, but it'd be a big move. Look, I'm not against throwing all the money you've got and taking Gordon and Isak if you could, but the injury thing did just have me thinking, because we've lived this. I've lived through Fernando Torres, and you just used to pray that he'd be fit. In fact, we did it with Sturridge. You know, when Sturridge was the guy. You know, few players that we've owned over the years as good a number 9 as Daniel Sturridge, but just couldn't get him on the pitch enough, and that means that you are geared towards a thing that doesn't exist. We've been spoiled with Mo Salah. Because to be that good and that injury resistant at the same time is what you're saying. That's actually almost the unicorn nature of him, not even actually his overall skill set from that flank. So yeah, that is my dream scenario for the summer. If anyone cares to fight me with it, please feel free to. Yeah, right. That was a sidestep. I just fancied having a bit of a chat about that. So thoughts, let me know the thoughts in the comments. Please feel free to slate me on that. By all means, don't really. Be nice and constructive. If you want to check out the full show, a lot of it, in fact, the vast majority of that show was dedicated to the theory that Steve Plunkett had, that Manchester United will never, ever, ever get back to being where they were again, because that's how far they've fallen. It was a massive chat. It was loads of fun, and you can get it and a month's worth of shows and the entire back catalogue for free if you use the code I mentioned earlier. Go to redmanplus.com, use the code Maych, and fill your boots. Lastly, make sure you check out this week's weekly vlog, and in fact the whole series. I'm weighing up whether to continue with them, so the more views, likes and comments and all them, that will help make that decision. Anyway, nice one.